Why is it you're suddenly deciding to do interviews? Just out of interest.
Why? I didn't decide to do it. Steve did. So I ended up here.
But is there any particular reason for wanting to chat to radio and press now? Or?
No. This is just a one-off, really, as far
Right.
as I'm concerned.
It's interesting, of course, that the Great Rock and Roll Swindle is due out eventually. What's the current state with the film?
It's finished. It's just in its editing stage now, and a few other problems. And,
Like what?
Just people trying to get their bits and pieces in and out, you know, people sort of having their little dig at it, you know, saying what's wrong and what's right as usual, you know.
The film starts, of course, with Malcolm McClaren explaining why he set the whole jamboree up in the first place. Was that story true? I mean, was it to get four people together that hated each other and swindle the rock and roll industry of £1 million?
No, the film is really, it's just a satire on what happened, really, you know. I don't think, Malcolm probably thinks he thought it up, but he didn't really. Things just happened, you know. We didn't plan nothing, really. And that's just the way it happened, and it's a good story, and it's a good way to tell it, really.
How did it actually happen? Did you met Steve first, presumably?
Yeah, well, I've known Steve for years, since we were about 10 or whatever. And I'd met him, and then we met Glenn through Malcolm in the shop. We used to know them before he was even in the band. And we met Rotten through Malcolm in his shop too. We used to go in there, and we met him in there.
And that story is true, that Johnny was just lurking around by the jukebox?
Oh, yeah.
And mimed to Schools Out or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Did you know the Pistols would take off in the way they did?
No, I didn't. Never imagined it, really.
Wonder why it happened. What was the sort of nerve that you hit?
I don't know. I think people were definitely waiting for something. Everyone. We knew something had to happen because the rock scene had just got really stagnant and it was terrible, and people were just complaining all the time and not doing nothing about it. As soon as we come along, we just come along at the right moment, exactly the right moment, you know. It's just a matter of luck and being at the right place and the right time as usual, you know. And,
what about the factor of manipulation? I mean, how far was Malcolm a very shrewd worker?
Oh, he's a very shrewd worker. He had everything sussed out, you know. He was great.
There's so many stories about the band, it's hard to know where to begin, really. I mean, what actually happened about Glen Matlock, for instance? Did he leave of his own accord because he felt the group was getting like the monkeys, or did you throw him out?
No, we slung him out.
Why?
No, it was mainly between him and John, personality crisis, you know.
It was Glenn that was, of course, the active innovator of the Bill Grundy Today programme, was it not?
Well, sort of. No, it was Steve who caused all the aggro there.
What did you feel about that?
What, the Bill Grundy thing? I thought it was really funny. I was just sitting there, I didn't say a thing. I thought it was hilarious. We all just ran out the studio laughing, bowled out. We was killing ourselves laughing. We all just ran out after.
But it was escapades like that made the Pistols in a strange sort of way.
Yeah, there was always something happening, you know, something going wrong or some disorder happening within the organisation every day, you know. It's crazy.
What about Johnny? What was the true story behind Johnny leaving?
Well, then again, it's just a build-up of it. I think it was personality things as well as the pressure was getting to everyone. I think when we was in America, it was amazing, you know. We lasted so long really with all the pressure we had, and we was just getting really on top of each other, and everyone just parted ways, you know.
What actually happened in the States? I mean, what was the reception? It seems from reports that we've heard was very mixed. You know, that nobody really quite knew what to say or think about the Pistols.
No, they don't. Americans are really stupid, you know. Their record taste and that. They just come along for the laugh and to throw cans at us, most of them. And there was loads of punks there, but we was playing mainly down south to cowboys and that caused a lot of aggro too, you know.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's great.
What about the relationship with the Pistols with record companies? Again, stormy throughout, I'd have thought. Witness that wonderful orchestral version of EMI on the Great Rock and Roll Swindle soundtrack.
Well, it just started off on the wrong foot and carried on, really, as far as the record companies were concerned. No way were we going to change, you know. We was just being ourselves, and they didn't like it, and that was their problem, you know.
Did they actually ask you to change? I mean, did officials from EMI,
Yeah.
A&M...
Well, first of all, they tried to tell us what records to release, and we weren't having none of that. And it just got worse and worse. And with the EMI thing, they couldn't handle the Bill Grundy situation, so they slung us off. And A&M, they signed us. I don't know what they signed us for, and then they kicked us off the next week, but we wasn't worried.
How did you go about writing all the songs? From Anarchy onwards?
Well, we just all get together, rehearsing, and just the same way in the other band does, I suppose. People come up with ideas and just go through with them.
Of the sort of, half a dozen really big hit singles the Pistols have you got any personal favourite for any reason?
My favourite one is Anarchy, just because of the sound on it, and I think it's what must be one of the best singles ever released, not being Flash or anything, but just think it is.
I think Pretty Vacant's one of the best singles ever released, interestingly. I think it's very fine. Can you tell me a bit about the writing of that?
What, Pretty Vacant? Glenn came out with the idea, but it was sort of with all our songs, it didn't matter. It was the combination of the four people, really, because it wouldn't have been the same without sort of Steve playing it, and whatever. It was just a combination of four people. It was just right, You can't really explain it. I don't know what it is.
Did you enjoy being together, playing together? I mean, are these stories about you all hating each other totally false?
No, we didn't really sort of get on really well. We didn't hang about together much. Me and Steve do, but the band together much. But that didn't really matter. We just got on with the job when we were doing it. We didn't have to love each other. We got on okay.
How did you meet up with a character like Ronnie Biggs? How did all that occur?
Well, when we was in the end of the American tour, San Francisco, when everything had just busted up, it was set up that the band would go there, but something happened. John didn't want to go, so me and Steve just went anyway. We didn't go there to actually plan to meet Ronnie Biggs. We just went there for a holiday, just for a break after what had happened, and we met him and just recorded a song with him for a laugh.
The only still I've seen from the film of that sequence is the three of you lying on a beach together with a series of skyscraper hotels in the background. Where was that?
Yeah, that was in Rio.
Right. Did you like him?
He was great, yeah.
Again, the impression you get from stills of the film is that he actually quite got off on the whole idea.
Yeah, he did. He was really into it, because we sort of come from the same place he's come from, and he was glad to see some kids over there, I think, having a laugh,
Why do you think ultimately the Sex Pistols expressed themselves in the way they did? Was it just frustration at the previous decades of the rock scene?
Oh yeah, we definitely wanted to sort of break down a few barriers, when we started, and I think we've done it successfully,
Was it ever in your mind to be deliberately outrageous?
No, that's the thing. People just thought we'd done it to be it, but we didn't. It just things started happening, and it blew up out of all proportion, in the press and that, to what we was meant to be doing, and that. And some of the rumours were totally false, We were just four normal working class kids,
There's one person that hasn't figured so far in this conversation, that's Sid Vicious. What do you think happened?
I don't know, Sid was just he was hyperactive, always wanted to do something, and he got bored really easy, and he always wanted to go out, be somewhere, and there wasn't nowhere to go really, and he was really bored, and when he joined the band, it sort of restricted him even more, because he couldn't do what he wanted to do, and he met this bird, and that was the sort of start of the downfall, really.
Did he want to do My Way? Was that his idea?
I don't know, but he must have wanted to do it, because if he didn't, he wouldn't have done it.
I remember when he died, I felt that's a shame, because it's obviously a case of a guy that was somehow manipulated into dying,
No, it's totally people blame Malcolm, people blame this, that and the other, but what killed him was drugs, simple as that, really.
There was nothing to do with him being put into situations that he couldn't really cope with?
No, he thought he could cope with it. He didn't care, he didn't care about anything. He just lived like he wanted to live, and no one was going to tell him what to do, and that's it. And you couldn't do nothing with him anyway,
Tell us a bit about Malcolm McClaren. I mean, what's the guy like, just to be with, to work with?
He's all right. He's, again, people think he's a right, nasty bloke. But he's not. He's done a lot. He's done a lot of good. And he's okay. I don't see him much now, but I think he's a good manager,
Do you think he was in it for the money?
He was in it, so he didn't mind making money out of, like, didn't mind robbing people like EMI and A&M of money, you know, at all. None of us did. And that's what he was out for, you know, to just... he was in it for the same reason as us, to wake everybody up, you know.
And money really didn't come into it at all?
No, we didn't expect to make thousands and thousands, you know, off record companies. No way did we ever, but it just happened. And we got it, you know.
A sort of satire on exactly that position. Perhaps you could explain a bit more about it, how it came to be written and how it developed in the way it did.
I don't know, well, originally it was meant to be a big proper film, you know, but things started going wrong, and it's been going wrong ever since. It's amazing it's even finished, really. And there's lots of documentary bits in it from early footage of the Pistols, the American tour film of that, and Malcolm's in it all the way through, you know, acting bits and pieces out, and it sort of all fits together. It should be okay.
Yeah. I'm very much wanting to see it. I think a lot of people are. But the impression that a lot of the pre-publicity is given is to do with the Sex Pistols money machine. That we were only in it all the time just to con you all.
Well, you know, people can believe what they want to believe. That's the whole thing about it, really. You know, some people think that we were in it just for the money. Some people, you know, think that we was in it for the laugh and didn't know what we was doing. You know.
Something that interests me is listening to the difference in the early tracks and the stuff that you and Steve have done since, specifically for the film. The early tracks are pretty raw, and the recent stuff, like Black Arabs as an obvious example, is extremely well produced, which is quite interesting. I mean, why did you decide to do it in that way?
Well, we couldn't help. The really early stuff was rough anyway, so that was going to be rough, and they were just we was just messing about in the studio with all them early tracks, and we made them the best we could, you know, and the other stuff. We didn't produce actually the Black Arabs or stuff like that. We done more the rock stuff on the album.
Who's coming up with the ideas? For example, whose idea was Who Killed Bambi?
What, for a song?
Yeah, and indeed for a sequence in the film.
Well, that was originally, I don't know, I think that was originally going to be the title of the film. And Malcolm wanted us to write a song, me and Steve, called that, but we couldn't be bothered, so he got someone else to do it.
You've been very successful, right? There's no doubt about that, but I'd like to know what you think you've achieved.
Well, I think we woke a lot of kids up, and we started off, whatever anyone says, we did start off this whole new wave thing, you know, and it started from us. We were the first, sure, it might have happened, could have been anyone, but we were there and we started it off. It used to be really boring, but now you can go out and see new bands most any time of the week. Bands don't feel they have to be great anymore to get up on stage, you know. As long as they've got the feeling, they can do it.
I was always intrigued by the way that the new wave had a sort of self-destruct mechanism in it. It was only meant to last for, what, about 15 months?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, really. The attitude was that just don't really care, just get up and do it, you know. And I suppose that is a bit self-destructive. If you don't care, you know, you get... A lot of bands have been ripped off, like the bands that started off, like most of the bands that started off the movement sort of seem to, every time you see them, like, seem to be in a bit down, you know, and not knowing what to do, you know.
Yeah, well, that's the impression I get, that a lot of them, the Clash is a typical example.
Yeah, all the you name all of them, they all were on big labels, they don't seem very happy, you know, they're sort of a bit wound up by the business. They didn't realise what they was getting into, I think, you know, with the big business side of it.
What did you think in the early days about the media? Because I think, and I'll confess it on this programme, there was a sort of conspiracy about not getting new wave onto television and radio. And, I mean, a few people were breaking it. Peely was an obvious example. This show picked up on it quite early. But, I mean, it took a long old time to break what did seem to be a conspiracy. Did you think it was a conspiracy?
Yeah, definitely. There was a conspiracy against us anyway. They wouldn't, no way would they play our records, you know. And it goes for other bands too. Yeah, they didn't get a chance really. But now that sort of people are slowly getting around to it, it's still not as good as it should be.
But everybody made it anyway. That's what's interesting.
Yeah, right. That's what was so great about it. You didn't have to depend on the BBC to play your records to get in the top 10. You know, it was the kids on the street buying your records. They didn't care whether the BBC are playing your records or not. You know.
That was what was so refreshing about punk anyway, that it wasn't a movement that came from within the industry. Or
Oh yeah.
It was just completely out of the blue, wham, from
that's why,
street level.
and that's why the industry didn't like it really, because everyone was trying to do it on their own terms and didn't want to become part of the EMI establishment or what have you, you know.
Sex Pistols do now?
I don't know, me and Steve, we're looking for people. We got something lined up, but we can't really be definite about it yet, you know. We want to get out and play again.
So you'll just augment yourselves with 2 more players again?
Yeah, but we've got a lot of problems to sort of. We've been left in a lot of contract problems, you know, and we want to get all them sorted out before, because we just get deeper and deeper.
Well, I was going to ask you that, because it strikes me that over the last year, you probably haven't done all that much, except sort of watch the movie struggle frame by frame together.
Yeah.
And sit around, have the odd chat with Malcolm, and watch Sid die and Johnny leave. And
Yeah, we have. Well, we've done a lot. We've been doing a lot of studio work, and we've produced a couple of other things for other people, and we've just been sort of plodding along and waiting until things sort themselves out, you know, and get our own situation sorted out before we can do anything, really.
I can't believe that either you or Steve are all that happy in your current situation, actually.
No, we're not. But there's not a lot you can do about it, you know. It takes such a long time.
So what you'd really like to do is just get back on the road again and start producing albums again?
Yeah.
As the Pistols?
Yeah.
Do you think the image will change?
I don't know, really. We never really started out with an image, you know, sort of a contrived thing. We was just ourselves. We'd just always be ourselves, you know.
So it doesn't matter that if you did bring a record out, say, in a couple of months' time, everybody would want to buy it. It probably would become a #1 bestseller. Does that actually matter to you at all?
Well, I ain't going to bring records out just because we know, you know. We want to feel that we're doing something that we want to do, you know. We don't want to just we know they're going to sell, you know.